I know who's going to win COD champs, and I'm being 100% serious. I dove deep into the analytics, the numbers, the stats, going all the way back to Cold War until now to find the patterns between the World Championship winning squads from every single season. And it took a lot of searching, but I finally found a few statistics that lined up for every single team. So we're gonna look at the teams right now in Black Ops 6 to find who truly has a chance at getting that ring. Let's start off by talking about the team statistics. So every team that has won COD champs from Cold War to now, the reason I picked Cold War is just because it was the first 4v4 game in the CDL era. Now there was a lot of stats that I found that seemed to line up for most teams, but there was always one that felt like it ruined it. If you look at where the teams seeded heading into champs, 3 of the 4 champs winners were the number 3 seed heading into the event, but Cold War FaZe ruined this by being the number 1 seed heading into their event. I tried to look at, the basic numbers, the most digestible numbers we have, something like KD, and every single team looked like it had players that were frying in terms of overall KD, right? Cold War FaZe had everybody above a 1.04. Modern Warfare 3 Optic had everybody above a 1.0. But then when you look at MW2 New York Subliners, Kismet had a 0.99. When you look at the LAT Vanguard team, only one player had above a 1.0 KD, and that was Octane with a 1.01. I tried looking at win percentages in game modes, especially Search and Destroy. As we know, SND wins championships, but the Optic Texas team from last year that won champs only won 47.9% of their SND maps the entire season. 3 of the 4 teams that won champs won over 64% of the series that they played, but LA Thieves Vanguard only won 51%. Even map win percentage, something you would think if a team wins a lot of their maps, obviously they're going to be one of the favorites and one of the likely teams to win champs. Atlanta FaZe, 70% map win percentage, 59% for NYSL, 58% for Optic, but only 52% for LAT. Obviously, a team that has under 50% is never going to really win champs. But all of these numbers, all of these ones that feel like if there's any patterns, it would line up here. There was always one team that seemed to ruin it. But here are the few that I found that lined up perfectly and helped me identify who's taking champs in BO6. Every single champs winner was a top 4 hardpoint team in the game. And beyond that, every single champs winner was also a top 5 control team in the game. So you have to be upper echelon in both of these categories. And looking at the teams in the league right now, the ones that line up for these top 4 hardpoint teams are LAT, FaZe, Vancouver, and Toronto. And top 5 control teams are LAT, FaZe, Vancouver, Toronto, and Optic. But then flipping over to the individual side of things, every single team had at least one player that was top 10 in breaking point rating. And then every team had a player that was top 4 in first bloods that year in Search and Destroy and top 6 in total plants. They say SND wins championships, so I really looked into the Search and Destroy numbers to find this. In terms of teams this year with a player that's top 10 in breaking point rating, we have LAT, FaZe, Optic, and Toronto. And then looking at those SND stats, teams that have a top 6 planters, or someone who plants the bomb a ton, we have FaZe, Toronto, LAT, and Boston Breach. And then top 4 in first bloods, we have FaZe, Vancouver, Toronto, and LA Thieves. So if you've been keeping track at home, there's only 3 teams that have lined up for every single one of these categories, those being LA Thieves, Atlanta FaZe, and Toronto Ultra. But this next statistic is honestly a big one. This is one that I feel like definitely determines who is capable, who truly is one of the best teams in the game that has a chance of winning champs. And this comes down to average placements. Now, going back through every single team that's won champs in the CDL era since Cold War, the minimum average placement you have to have is 4.5. And there are only 3 teams in the CDL this season to have an average placement of 4.5 or better. And you've probably guessed it, those 3 teams are the 3 we just talked about: LA Thieves, Atlanta FaZe, and Toronto Ultra. So all stats are pointing towards one of these 3 teams being the ones capable of claiming that ring here in just a few weeks. And obviously, winning champs comes down to more than just these numbers. And we're going to talk about who's truly going to win champs here in a second. And this is also only a small sample size. We only have 4 years of champs winners to look back on. So maybe someone shocks the world and beats out these statistics, beats out these patterns from our previous winners. But based on what we've seen, it looks like one of these 3 is going to win, but let's talk about who that actually is going to be. There's one main thing that has happened every single year since Cold War up until last year in Modern Warfare 3 that has pretty much guaranteed or helped identify who was going to win champs. And you might not have ever noticed this. To be honest, I never really even thought about this until I did the research for this video. But every single season, the team who wins champs had won an event previously in that season. You look back at Cold War, Atlanta FaZe obviously ran the table, won so many events. In Vanguard, LAT won Major 4 right before champs. In Modern Warfare 2, Subliners did the same thing FaZe did in Cold War and won a lot of the events. And then last year in Modern Warfare 3, Optic Texas won Major 3. So if we look now at Black Ops 6, that leads us down to 2 teams. Toronto Ultra taken off the board, and it's LA Thieves and Atlanta FaZe as the only two teams that have won events this year. And when I tell you, I looked at every number I could find. I was looking on Breaking Point. I was looking on the CDL Wiki. I was scouring the web to try and find a tiebreaker for these teams. And it took me a while. It took me a minute to figure out what is the pattern that lines up for the other 4 winners, but doesn't line up for both of these teams. Only one of these teams can win champs, right? And I found 2 things, 2 stats, 2 patterns, 2 things that happened in COD history these last 4 seasons that helped me determine who is going to win champs this season. And the second one of these things is honestly pretty crazy because it beats out just CDL era. This is something that has happened every single season COD champs has existed since Black Ops 2 in 2012. But let's talk about the first one that's just CDL era related, and that is the champs winner won an event every single season from losers bracket. In Cold War, Atlanta FaZe won Major 2 from losers bracket. In Vanguard, LA Thieves won Major 4 from losers bracket. In MW2, the Subliners won Major 1 and Major 5 from losers bracket. And last year in MW3, Optic Texas won Major 3 from the losers bracket. And there's only one team this season that has won an event from losers bracket, and that is LA Thieves at our most recent event in Major 4. But it goes beyond that. Like I said, I looked at this statistic. This one actually blew my mind. This was one I didn't even ever realize until now. And maybe it sounds obvious or seems like something that statistically is very probable, but every single season from Black Ops 2 champs all the way up until last year in Modern Warfare 3, the team that won champs had somebody or multiple people on the team that were winning their first ever ring. And if you look at Atlanta FaZe coming into this year as they are one of the 2 favorites to win champs, all 4 of those guys have won a ring previously in their career. But when you look at LA Thieves, only 2 of those players have won a ring, where you have Dan Ghosty and Scrap, who have never obtained that ring just yet. So through all the stats, through all the numbers that I was able to find, every pattern between the champs winning squads from the last 4 seasons in the CDL era line up for one team to be taking that ring. And based on it all, that team is, luckily for me, the LA Thieves. So that's it. I know who I'm going to put my money down on to win champs coming up in just a couple weeks. But let me know down below who you have winning the big one. And don't forget to subscribe for more CDL content coming soon. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.